this in. BetterQuestionsEmail.com. As always, mental models, productivity, and more. If you are not signed up for Better Questions, my weekly email tomorrow is a doozy. It's a big one. I highly suggest that you go and sign up for it. I hope you do that. Now, today, let's talk a little bit about something. This came up. I was creating a video for some coaching clients, and got me to thinking. I sort of posed this question this way, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So that if I had to forget everything, all right, this is kind of like a variation of the desert island question, right? If you have to forget everything, every habit you have, every system, every process that's ever produced success for you, I've got to forget everything. I've got to forget all that. All these years, these many years of self-improvement, right? All the Tony Robbins and the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People and the How to Win Friends and Influence People and all these books. Every book I've ever read, you just forget it all. And you only get to pick one thing to take with you into this new amnesiac lifestyle. You only get one habit to take, one system, one process, one thing. What would it be? I thought this was an interesting question. I thought about it for a while. And I know the answer. And it might be a little surprising. I'm not sure. It kind of depends. But I was looking back over my life, let's say over the last 2 or 3 years, I have had more progress personally, physically, in my business in the last 2 or 3 years than I'd had probably in the previous 5 to 10. And in a way, that's because success builds on itself, right? So that's certainly a thing. And in a way, it's because I'm older. Hopefully, you get older, you get a little bit wiser. It's certainly a thing. You get to know yourself a little bit more. But there's been one thing that I've started doing about 3 or 4 years ago that has completely changed my life and has really profoundly changed how I think about what happens to me every week. And that is the habit of doing a weekly review. And I say that, and it sounds pretty boring, and people kind of roll their eyes. And I don't think the weekly review gets anywhere near enough shine, enough respect. So I'm here to pay some respect to the idea of a weekly review. Here's what a weekly review is. It is an acknowledgement of a core fact of human existence, which is that everybody, no matter how ambitious you are, no matter how goal-oriented you are, no matter how gung-ho you are, everybody gets off track. We get off track. And we systematically underestimate the extent to which small deviations and small errors and small mistakes can add up to vastly different outcomes over time. This is the classic metaphor of steering the Titanic, steering the giant ship. You turn this wheel the tiniest bit and you change your course by just a degree, but over the next course of a week, you're going to end up in a very different place than you would have if you just stayed straight. And this is not like saying no, the point of the weekly review is I have a plan and I have to stick to the plan. No, and in fact, much of the time what the weekly review does is tell me, oh, my plan isn't the right one. It's not the right one for me anymore. I've changed. But just because I change doesn't mean I'm aware of that. After all, I'm inside my own existence. I'm inside that process of changing. It's hard to see it from the outside. And so if you don't realize that now you're a little bit different and you don't update your goals, you can end up, as my friend Nick Peterson often says, you end up winning a race you never wanted to be in the first place. So the weekly check-in is not about slavish adherence to some sort of preset plan. It's about acknowledging that life is change and the world is changing. And my goals and my aspirations and my ideals, they have to change with it. Now, what is this weekly review that's been so valuable? It's real simple. The same time every single week. For me, it's Monday morning. For you, it could be whenever, Sunday night, whatever. For me, it's Monday morning. Every single week, Monday morning, I come into the office. I get a coffee. I come into the office. I sit down, and I do nothing other than the weekly review. And here's exactly what it is. I sit down in front of a piece of paper. I paste in some questions I always ask myself. And I journal. That's pretty much it. Now, I like complicated things. I've added some complications. I've got a spreadsheet. I've got stats I put in. None of that's really important. What's important is sitting down every single week at the exact same time and asking yourself the same questions. What kind of questions do you ask? Here's what I ask myself. But here's the thing I like about the idea of a weekly review. It's not a set of questions. It's not a special template. It's an idea. It's a habit. The habit is checking in with yourself and saying, how am I doing? How did I do this week? How am I doing this month? Am I on track? That's the idea. So the specifics don't really matter, but the habit is what matters. Now, that said, what do I ask myself, right? Here's what I ask myself. Every week I say, what is bothering me right now? What's making me anxious right now? What am I worried about? What am I worried about that isn't helping me? Easy enough. Then I say, how'd the week go? Give it a score, 1 to 5. It was a 3. And then I say, why was it a 3? It's real simple. Well, this happened, this happened, this happened, all right? I have goals. I paste in the goals. I say, here's what I did for this goal. Here's what I did for that goal. Here's what I did for this. I didn't do anything for that goal. Okay, I just kind of write it out. What did I do last week? And then I say, what are you doing that's a waste of your time? What I do last week that was a waste of my time? What I do last week that was bottleneck? What did I do last week that wasn't a good use of my time? I spend some time thinking about that. And then I say, can I get rid of that thing? Can I make it so I never have to do that thing again? And I think about it. And then I say, what am I going to do next week? Well, I'm going to do this on this goal, this on this goal, this on this goal. Cool. Now go do it. And that's it. That's all it is. How are you feeling right now? How'd you do last week? Why? What are you going to do next week? That's it. If you do nothing else than build a habit of walling off some time and say, I'm investing in myself. This is my time. No one can bother me. This is my time. I value myself enough to give myself this time. And you say, this is my time to check in with myself and make sure I am on track. And if you get off track, because you will, because everybody does, you say, how do I get back on track? And if you do that, and only that, it's really all you need. Over time, turn the wheel, end up in a very different place. I hope that makes sense. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow.